Let's have an overview of reading skills. Reading is quite a complex phenomenon. If you look at it, reading involves looking at the words on a page and then processing them in your mind, understanding them in your mind, putting all those words and sentences together, then putting ideas together, putting up a sense of the ideas, how they get together and what kind of conclusion they come to. So there are many stages in reading, and we can just see what are the main skills that are needed for reading. What can you do best in order to have good understanding when you're reading? So here we have some keys here for your reading practice and development of reading skills. Now, we all have a lot of background knowledge. Even if we have not read a lot of books, we have that knowledge of the world. And that knowledge of the world, along with books, newspapers, or other means by which we have that knowledge, is all background knowledge. So we must use that background knowledge. It's not that when you're reading something, you're a blank slate. You do have a lot in your mind which can be helpful in applying that knowledge to reading. Begin any reading with asking questions. If you ask questions, it will give some kind of a purpose and target to your reading. You will ask questions like, what is this? What are they talking about? What is the subject that they are talking about? I don't know much about this subject. I wonder if this writer is going to tell me more about this subject or not. So simple questions like that, which help you to go through the reading in order to answer those questions. As you read, you will see that the author is driving towards something, that the author has a purpose, and that purpose is pretty clear as the reading progresses, as the thoughts go forward. And as you move forward, you will also see that there are several ideas. Out of these several ideas, there will be one main idea or topic. So I would suggest that as soon as you can identify the main idea, write it down in one sentence. That use one sentence which encapsulates the idea of that passage, so that in your mind it becomes very clear that this is what the idea is, and then you will be able to see what are the supporting ideas also. As you read, you will see that the passage is not organized in a random way. It's not confused. It's not something which is unorganized. It follows certain sequences. Certain events may be described and then their consequences. That is what we call cause and effect. Now, from these, you can make certain inferences. What does that mean? That means something which is not exactly given in the text, but you can easily draw a logical conclusion from the information that is given. So that is making an inference. So you make an inference from what is given, not just out of the air, but you make it as a logical conclusion from what is given there. You can infer something. Of course, making predictions, that's a part of questioning also. When we question, we make a prediction. And then we can make further predictions about what more we will find in that passage. As we get a hold of the main idea and the supporting ideas, we can easily summarize that passage. So you can extend your sentence. Maybe you've written a sentence which summarizes the main idea of the passage. Then you can make more sentences, or you can even make a diagram to make a summary of that passage. It's very clear that when you read something, there's a person writing there. And the person may be writing about his or her own opinions. And their own opinions are there, but they may also be making use of facts. Now, you as a reader must distinguish between the facts and the opinions. Sometimes facts are easy to distinguish because they are given very clearly. There is some data, there are some facts and figures, as we say, so we can distinguish that very clearly from what the opinion is. Opinion we can distinguish very clearly when the writer uses something like I think that, or I can remember that, or I may illustrate that. So whenever a writer uses personal pronouns like I or we, well, that is something that indicates opinion. So as we read and we become skilled in reading, we can clearly see what is a fact and what is an opinion. These are very useful skills to have, to be able to distinguish something which is there in reality, that's the fact, and the opinion. What is opinion? Opinion is the interpretation of a fact, is the way a person feels about something, right? So it is an opinion, which means that that person is giving us some sort of an individual idea about their own opinion about it, or their own interpretation about it. So it's sometimes very important for the meaning of a passage. You may see lots of details in your reading passage. Sometimes these details are insignificant and sometimes they are important. So some of the details may be very significant because you may have to answer certain questions taken from those details. So don't miss out on the details. In many passages, the reader's task is sometimes made easy by the use of comparison and contrast. So very clearly the writer will make use of comparisons between the past and the present, or between situation in one country, situation in another country, and there would be similarities given over there. So that can help you to very clearly see what the writer is talking about, because comparison and contrast are techniques by which the writer makes something clear to you. So you must recognize these techniques. And it's very important to make connections between one part of a passage and the next part of a passage. Because you see, when a passage begins, there is the beginning of an idea. And then as the paragraphs progress, you will find that those ideas are being expanded, or some contradictions are also given to those ideas. Like some ideas may be given and then there may be an opposition to that. Till the end of the passage, you might find that you have come a long way from the first idea. So in complex passages, you find that the conclusion or the end of a passage may not be that close to the ideas from which the passage began. There may be a lot of complexity in between, and you have to deal with all that by making connections. That is, you may see what is the thing that unites the ending of a passage with the beginning of a passage, and what unites the different ideas given in the different paragraphs of the passage. Is it a disconnected piece of writing? Is that all these ideas are disconnected and they are random, or they are confused? No, you will find certain words that indicate that these ideas are connected. So when you look at certain sentence linkage, certain words, they will guide you. They will guide you as you make the connections. So to make those connections, you can just look at some of the words which are repeated again and again. Or you may look at the way in which the sentences are joined together, and you can then make the connections very easily. So certainly visualization helps, because you imagine as you read. You imagine something as you read. In your mind, a whole structure takes shape, right? So that is helpful in forming a full picture, as we had seen in the earlier part, that we may understand the author's purpose and we may understand the main idea. Finally, we may reread the passage, and in order to focus on some of the important parts of that passage, because in the first reading we may have missed out on some important detail. Here our speed of reading may vary. We may quickly skim a passage and get a hold of the main gist of that passage, have the main idea in the form of a sentence in front of us, that this is the main idea or the topic sentence in this passage. And then we may read slowly. So we need both the techniques. We need to read quickly, but then we also need to read slowly with careful focus on each